Hi guys, I'm just checking to see if I've got, there we go. I can see people coming on. How is everybody? Cheeky sod. How are we all? Kate's on, Leanne's on. How is everybody doing? Vic, how you doing, buddy? Just want to come on, say hello, have a chat with everybody with regards to equipment. How you doing, Claire? Andrew Jones, hello. Just gonna share out on the iPad quickly, guys. Won't be a moment. How is everybody doing today? Angela, how you doing? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Roddy. Yeah, it's a little bit early, yeah. Thank you, Claire. How's everybody's day going today? When my iPad decides it's going to work, that is. How are we all? Hi, Barbara. How you doing? Work is busy, is it, Andrea? Thanks, Vic. Right. Sure. There we go. How are we all? We are at it later, yeah. We definitely are at later on. You're locked in. Why are you locked in, Roddy? What are you locked in for? The wife's trying to keep you in, is she? Hi, Claire. How you doing? Sandra's one is busy wiping dogs. Oh, she gets muddy. So I come on I just ask, basically, what is everybody's favourite piece of equipment? What does everybody love watching? And if there's anything that you do really love watching, is there anything you'd like to know about it? Most people who know me know I'm quite techie, and that obviously I tend to try to get to know what I use. Thanks, Sandra, for sharing. So what's everybody's favourite piece of equipment? It doesn't necessarily need to be what we use, can be what anybody else uses. And if there's anything I can put across with regards to how to use it properly, then great. Victoria Rowe likes the robots, so Jeff. Peter K, hello sir, no spud for you. Yeah, I'm waiting for Pete to come and bring me a baked spud. Everybody tell Pete to bring me a baked spud. I got him one yesterday. Spud van's open, I got him one. I think Pete, it's only fair. Pete brings one for me. Do I class it as a piece of equipment? Yeah, how to use PK properly. Stick him in a chair and get him to do transfiguration. There you go. Love watching Bells and Robots. Gotta bring out the SLS. Well, okay. So let's talk about SLS first of all. So does anybody know what SLS stands for? First of all. Does anybody know what it stands for, first of all? Let's see if anybody actually knows what it stands for. Hi, Jean, how you doing? Claire Ferris, Pete, bring us all a spud. Yeah, everybody tell Pete to bring me a spud. Chili and cheese, come on Pete, hurry up. So, does anybody know what SLS stands for? Nearly there, Jean. So SLS stands for Structured Light Sensor. There we go. Leanne knows it. Leanne listened. She's been listening. So basically, an SLS camera is a structured light sensor. The only true SLS cameras is the ones that are created in America. Spud. Should it be Spud lol Spud? So the only ones that you see basically the only real one is the one you've seen on Ghost Adventures. You can buy them. They're a very expensive amount of money. So yeah, but what you see with the sensors on that are made from either Xbox Connect, Windows Connect sensors, or any similar to that, are not true SLS. They are really just what I call a stickman setup, and that's it. Totally it. They do not work properly if you're walking around with them. They have to be kept still. They're based on a similar technology to what you have in your Xbox or your PlayStation. So that basically means if you are walking around with it, doing this, it's not going to give you a true reading. If it's stationary, basically what will happen is what you'll find is stickman setup. So what you'll find is if it's stationary, it will pick up within about a 6 to 8 feet field of vision. Hence, similar to, I don't know if anybody's seen Paranormal Activity, when you see the little dots on the walls. If you look at it under night vision, you'll see there's all these little thousands of dots on the walls. And that's how it works. Each one of those dots picks up a section of either furniture or you yourself, as the system is programmed to pick up on movement of the human body. It is also programmed to pick up on what is like chairs, tables, beds, things like that. And those things is designed ideally not to create a stick figure on. So, but you do get issues with it where it does pick up little things on the wall. So it might not know what a coat hook is, for example. So it must, what people call SLS or what I call a stickman setup, ideally should always be static. I love the equipment when you see a spirit as a stickman. Yeah, that's the thing. If it's static and you see something on there, then you can sit there and go, all right, okay, maybe. If somebody's walking around with it, you get false readings. That's the thing. Now, obviously, this is only my opinion. However, what you will find is that that's how it's made, and that's how it's made to work. If you walk around with it in your hand, you will receive false readings. Love the equipment when you see it, yeah. Crazy Dave is the best ever. Crazy Dave.
Hello.
Crazy Dave. So, what's that? Oh, I just realised Crazy Dave's eyes move. Look, his eyes move. I didn't realise that. I just learned something about Crazy Dave, his eyes move. He follows you as you go, look. Yeah, Paranormal Lockdown would do, because obviously Nick Groff himself was part of the Ghost Adventures team. They had the original one that was made for them, so you'll find Nick would probably have one. Yes, exactly, Leanne. We had it stationary, we had it static. Same as when we were in the pub not long back. Vic says love the roll. So robots. So we have Jeff and Jim. Jeff and Jim are both MIP robots, okay? They have what is called a follow me function on them. They're a bit dirty at the minute. They need a bit of a clean. So basically they have different settings on them. Now, those settings do different functions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let everybody know what those functions are. So, on screen, MIP robot user manual. Okay. Now, it's quite simple, really. Now, these do have a function of using an app to link with, but that app works with only specific functions. For example, you can basically have a fight between two robots. So, as you can see, this one equates purely to these ones, the black and white ones. As you can see here, you've got different functions. So you've got blue, which is default. You've got stack, which is white. You've got cage, which is white. Stack, which is pink. Cage, which is white. Tricks, which is red. Roam, which is yellow. Dance, which is turquoise. Tracking, which is orange. The only way to use these robots for what we do is when you turn it on. Can you see it's in blue mode? And it makes that noise. Now, when it's in that mode, that is the follow me section. Okay? So when we basically put your hand close to him and he moves away, the idea is he turns. Alright? Now, obviously, he's not going to do anything when I'm holding his hand because he needs to be set in his gyroscopic mode, as you hear. So when we turn the wheel, we change settings. That there is tracking mode. We have turquoise mode, which is dance. So you'll want to keep doing stuff. So then we have roam, so he'll roam around the building. We have tricks, so he'll do different tricks and things. So, but you can do all these things with the app. Okay. White. Now this is the thing. Cage. White mode. So if you see any groups that are using the robots and that light is in white, or obviously in white, you will find it's in cage mode. It will move around as if it's in a cage. All right. That doesn't mean something is touching it. No, they're not, Vic. That's the thing. Okay, yeah, no worries. Give Mara a big hug for us. So yeah, so what you'll find is that when you turn these robots on, if that function is in white, if your eyes do not match the color on the front, it is not in follow me mode. So the default mode, which is blue, which when I turn it on, it's in follow me mode. Okay? That function is the function we use for investigating, because that function itself is the only function that will work for paranormal investigation if it's proven. But as with every piece of equipment, as with every device we use, it is all theory based. It doesn't mean that it's actual activity happening, but the idea is that we are trying to get some form of link with our questions. So if we ask for, that's why we have 3 robots. We have 3 different robots, because we're able to turn around, we're able to say, Spirit, if there is somebody around here, if you're male, move the white one. If you're female, move the black one. If the white one moves, we potentially know that there's a possibility it's shame there's not Hoover mode. We know that there's a possibility that there is a male around then. So, but the thing is, this pink mode, which is stack, that, Angela, believe it or not, these, you can see the way the hands are shaped. Okay, they come with a little tray, little circular tray, and you can actually balance on that tray. You can actually balance a can of Pepsi or a can of Coke or something, and the robot will actually bring it to you. Hi Pat, how you doing? Hi Karina. So hi Leanne, how you doing? So that's how they work. We need a girl one. I know there is one. There is another one you can get. It's called a Coda one. It's clear in colour, but it does basically very similar to what Dave does. Okay, so the reason Dave is a bit different is Dave doesn't work on the same principle exactly. Okay, obviously one thing is eyes. He's got boggly eyes. So with Dave, it's a bit different. You can basically use Dave in a few different modes. We've not programmed Dave at all. You can program him the same as the Coda one. To program him, you have to program him to do the same gestures as Jeff and Jim do. Okay? So, for example, you can program the hand swipe across the front. When you turn Dave on, okay, you can see the lights at the bottom here instead. And he makes loads of noise. Hence why we call him Crazy Dave. The difference with Dave in his standard settings is, instead of having the full follow me function on it, if anything goes near him, he goes a bit crazy and he runs away. So we know that something's gone near him. And it has to go near that bit there. That's the sensor. So you can see his GRU logo on the front there. That's where his sensor is. If anything pushes down on his head, he makes a load of noise. I don't know if we can be able to hear that from here. Let me move that here. Let me set Dave up on the side and see if he will do it for us. Okay. Apart from he nearly fell off the table. So if I do push down on his head, he goes a bit crazy. And then he falls over. So yeah, so that's basically Dave. If something claps over Dave, so 3 times around him, he goes crazy. Do we use EMF meters? We do. We use a couple of different ones. I have a K2 meter. Well, 2 K2 meters. One has sound, one doesn't have sound. I have one which will tell me on screen whether it's Wi-Fi signal, mobile phone signal, or anything like that. Okay, we use that on occasion. I did have one which was just a black one which was digital on screen, and it was normally a green screen with, and when it went off it went red, but unfortunately we lost it. We left it at a location, sadly, and we couldn't get back into the location to go and get it. How you doing, Samantha? You all right? I love how you say hello to Dave first, Samantha. So yeah, so that's the difference really between the main difference between robots. But obviously, like I say, when we put them down, we try to use them so that you have the best possible chance of some sort of a response or potential of getting some some answers. Hence why we've got 3 different robots. When you're using one item, you can only ask yes or no, and then obviously, do you have a true answer for that? That's the thing. Now everybody, there's saying about the bear. So Cedric the bear, his t-shirt's due today, hopefully. So hopefully you might see Cedric with his little t-shirt on. Cedric the bear is a bit different. Let me go get it, because that's very true. Bear with me a sec, let me get Cedric. Cedric. So Cedric the bear, Cedric is a little Boo Buddy. Okay, he's a Boo Buddy mini. Basically when we switch him on, you can see he lights up. Okay, now Cedric is designed, he's got EMF built into him, so he's got an EMF meter built in. He has just a single light on the front there, and when he goes off, when the EMF goes off on it, his hands light up red. So you get one hand lights up for a lower sense, 1 and 2 light up, for a higher frequency of EMF. So that's basically what Cedric does. That's the idea. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to get some activity with Cedric on nights when we're in places where there's potentially children about. So like if we're in an old home, or an old house of some sorts, that would be the ideal scenario. But that's Cedric, that's EMF meters. Sarah Taylor's a little cutie. So here's his nice and soft. So is there any other pieces of equipment that everybody likes we can have a bit of a chat about? Casper type. So we haven't said hello to Jim properly yet. Say hello to Jim. So Jim, as I say very quickly, is very simple. Exactly the same setup as Jeff. you can see blue on his front, blue eyes. If you don't see blue eyes and a blue front, he's not in the correct setting. All right. So anybody who you see using these robots, if it's not blue eyes, blue front, it's not right, not in the right setting. Okay. One other difference between with Dave. There is a different app you can get for Dave, which is a bit of a funny one. It doesn't control him in terms of moving around and things. It's all to do with this thing, his fart gun, mainly. So you can program Dave in the app to do different functions and things, but one of the things you can do is if you've got two of these ones, you can actually have a fart gun war with them, which is quite funny. Sandra is talking about REM pods. I'll go and get the REM pod, shall I? Bear with me. Okie dokie, REM pod. So, REM pod, resonating electromagnetic field pod. Alright? And basically that's what that is. The idea behind this is, inside this is what they call a junior theremin device, which anybody who knows what a theremin is. Do you have the Stickman one? I mind the name of it. I cannot find the name of it. Yeah, Lorraine, I'll go through that with you in a sec. So obviously, we actually have already catered for the Stickman setup. So if you watch back, Lorraine, afterwards, you'll see at the beginning we talked about the Stickman. So with regards to the REM pod, inside of here is what they call a junior theremin device. So if anybody knows what a theremin is, it's a musical instrument. Usually it's got a board at the bottom, it's got an aerial that sticks up, and to be able to play it, you use your hands on it like this, and it makes a funny noise. The idea behind this is a similar thing, principle of what's inside a REM pod. It's a miniature version of that theremin. And you'll find that there are devices on the market that people are calling REM pods and they're not actually REM pods. No worries, Sarah. Thanks very much. So with this, obviously, when we switch it on, you can see it's on, red light's on. And when we go near, the closer we get to it, more lights light up. This one obviously has a temperature setting on, which most people hear, obviously you can hear that's the temperature setting on it. So you can see there's a red light there, and that red light will go blue if it's going colder. If it's hot, it'll go red. That's pretty much the REM pod, to be quite honest with you guys. Other than that, there's not much about this you need to know, other than the fact that it has, obviously on this one it has settings, you can reset things, you know what I mean? That's about that. So, where are we? No worries, Lorraine, have a little watch back afterwards. Anita says the Solomon is good. One thing a lot of people don't realise about the Solomon app is because they only ever usually hear everybody use the Solomon setting on it, which is the Lord's Prayer setting. So that is just one button on there. On the Solomon app itself, it has different things. It has different types of noise, so white noise, brown noise, pink noise, things like that. There are different frequencies of sound. Ideally, you use those to try and communicate as well. Same principle as when you have a TV that has loads of static on it. That's the idea with that. But yeah, we use that to try and invoke spirit to come forward. Gives it a bit more energy. That's the idea behind that. One of the biggest things with Ouija boards, for example, let's talk about them very briefly. Hi, Colleen. Ouija boards are communication devices, or so they is believed to be. With regards to what we have here, that is a communication device. That is a communication device. They're communication devices. Dave's just nuts. So they're no different to what we use on a daily basis. All our equipment is a communication device of some sort. We're trying to communicate with spirit. That's the idea. So if we're trying to communicate with spirit using whether it's cat balls, whether it's flashing lights, as Sandra's just said there, obviously people with epilepsy or photolight sensitivity, we do try and make sure that you're aware of. If we're using robots, we're using REM pods, etc., etc. Every piece of equipment we use is a communication device of some sort. You have a right to have a belief in whatever piece of equipment you want to use, whether that is what happens with a Ouija board, whether that is what happens when you use a REM pod, whether that's what happens when you use a what people call an SLS camera, or a stickman setup, as I call it. Your belief is your choice, your opinion is your choice, and nobody should ever potentially look to take that belief or opinion away from you. The best thing I can suggest is try and keep an open mind with it all. That's the best thing I can suggest. So no matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, excuse me, you have the right to have your opinion, you have the right to have your belief about it. And the same with the paranormal in as a whole. Is there any other sort of equipment that anybody would like to have a chat about? Have you captured a spirit with any device? Well, same with everything, to be honest with you, Anita. The best way to sit there and say it is there's no 100% answer to that. We can't say 100% that what we have got is a spirit we're speaking to. We can't say 100% anywhere is haunted as such. Anybody who sits there and uses the term haunted really needs to make sure they can back that term up. All right? So if you turn around and say you have a medical condition, for example, are you able to back up that medical condition if need be with things? Sorry about that. Sorry guys, my gimbal's just gone a bit nuts. I'm using the old gimbal, guys. I'll have to hold it by hand. There we go. So yeah, using my old gimbal, unfortunately, then to do that, while the other one's on charge, ready for later. No, Kate, don't worry, I'll be coming off in a couple of minutes, don't worry. So, basically, every piece of equipment we use is all theory-based. No matter what anybody says or does, you can't say haunted, because haunted means you've actually done all this research, you have it all documented, and you have enough evidence or documentation to say it's haunted. We, as ghost hunters, we go out, we try to prove there is activity in a place. So let's just go back very quickly to the original TV series Ghost Hunters, when they originally went out in the first place. They used to turn around, I'm going to sit back a bit now. They used to turn around and they used to basically say at the end of it that whether they believed the place was haunted or not. Now, in most cases, they would come out of that and say they believed the place had activity. That's totally different to saying it is haunted. If a haunting occurs, well, you need to make sure that you have documentation, you have so many different experiences documented, so whether that's on video or in photo format, audio format, written format. Peggy's in the house, to make sure that you have the right, really, to say that the place is haunted. It's like when you go to the doctors, if the doctor says they're going to diagnose you with a specific thing, well, they're working on the basis of what they've seen in the past, what books say, what people's research has said. As ghost hunters, we may not necessarily research premises or places to the same capacity as people who are full-on investigators into it. That's the difference between what we do as ghost hunters and what paranormal investigators actually do. Okay? So there's a massive difference. And I hold my hat out to anybody who does the investigation side of it, because they have numerous years worth of research done. So anybody who says that they are an investigator should really have research and things like that to back it up. All right. Where are we? Angela says you don't need equipment with Pete with you. Exactly. But that's the thing. Let's look at that. Let's just very look at this. So when people talk about mediumship, clairvoyance, etc., it's all what you, again, perceive and believe. If you look at everything that goes on if you look at, just take what happens with Pete when we go on investigation. Some people may sit there and say, is he making it up? The question is he? Now, obviously, when you see Pete afterwards, when you see him the next day, he feels like, you can tell how he is. He doesn't want to get up. He doesn't want to do anything, because he's just wiped out. I'm not sitting there and saying what everybody does on investigations and things like that is. It's harder to prove. That's the thing. So this is why when what happens to Pete happens, for example, what we try to do is back it up where we possibly can with evidence using the equipment. If we can do so, then that's great. And one of the things we find is using our robots and things like that. We do tend to have a lot. I've not seen anybody who has the same sort of movement with the robots as we have. I've not seen anybody have the motion, the moving forward and backwards we've had on them, and especially when you've had numerous, more than one robot move at the same time. Let's just go back through the comments, guys. Sorry. Sandra, my advice to you would be, if you haven't seen or heard of anything, or heard of spirit in any way, my advice would be keep an open, skeptical mind. I always think that if you are a true believer, you may, in anything, whether that's religion, spiritual, anything like that at all, you can sometimes be a little bit too focused on something. So if you keep an open mind, you can then look at what other possibilities are. That's why you'll see us change things. For example, when we see a cat ball going off and it's continually going off, what we'll do is switch it around with another one. That way we know that if that one continually goes off in another area, it's possibility it's faulty, etc. That's the thing, Colleen. Spirit is potentially everywhere. Okay, there is potentially energies everywhere. This is why we say places are active, not necessarily haunted. Okay, because we can't totally document some places, because some places you just can't find history out about the place. It's that hard to find history about. Sandy says, I don't like that theory. I don't believe everything is haunted. I believe there is life after death, but sorry, chat's jumping. But I believe too many electronics are used and most are programmed. Just my opinion. Sandy, that's the thing. So every piece of equipment we use has to be theory based. Okay. When you use a word generator, when you use a REM pod, everything like that at all, including the robots, everything's theory based, and it is. But the idea is if you can get more than one piece of equipment at the time working or responding to questions, then at that point in time, there's a possibility that there's activity happening, and that's the best way to be, I think. Anyway, that's just my opinion. But it's better, as I say, to keep an open mind to everything. Where are we? Have you ever seen anything horrible in spirits? Yes and no. I mean, obviously, most nights when we're out, you see what happens to Pete. It's not very nice. So Anita says, I get a lot of tugging on my top or feel... Sorry, it's jumping against someone sitting beside me. Jean says, our spirit boxes, ghost boxes... and Necphonics all pre-recorded or words said backwards. So spirit box, ghost box are basically the same sort of thing. The idea with them is that it is a scanning radio, whether it's FM, AM, that's basically what it is. So the idea is that some have a function where you can scan it backwards, or some have a function where it just say forward. You can speed it up, slow it down. You find a setting that you tend to find works better for you. Those will scan the radio frequencies, and the idea is that you are looking for a direct response to your questions. The thing with that is that do we get audio pareidolia, as we call it? Okay, so pareidolia obviously is the seeing of a shape in an object or a picture. Audio pareidolia is what we hear. Do we hear, if you say, is your name Jeff? Do we hear the word yes come back? Do we hear the word no come back? It's what we hear. Now, what I tend to find is that when we're on investigation, we hear things. When we're back out at, when we're back looking at the the footage afterwards, we tend to hear differently, or we tend to hear something else. well, also, sorry, we tend to hear other things happening, is the best way to put it. So in terms of, are they programmed? Some apps are programmed with phonemes, so sounds, and again, our mind is putting those sounds together to create words. That's the idea behind them, but again, all theory based. Where are we? Hi Cherry, how you doing? Lisa, how do you know when walking down the road you pass someone who's a spirit? You never know. Exactly. You wouldn't have a clue. Sandra says, I do believe, Dan, my mum saw her dad at the end of her bed. That's the thing. So, again, the reason why I say about keeping a skeptical mind and open mindset is more about the fact that, yes, your mum may have seen your dad's spirit at the end of the bed. The thing is, only your mum can say that's the case. So that is a personal experience. We can't necessarily sit there and say 100% it happened. It's not saying somebody is not telling the truth or anything like that. What that is basically saying that only your mother would know that for 100%, because it was her personal experience. So we keep an open mind over that, because we know that experience for your mum was, whether it was something of a happy experience or however the experience was. But for a lot of people, seeing a spirit at the end of their bed would potentially, sorry, my phone slipped, man, potentially can be scary a little bit, things like that. But obviously in that situation, again, it's a personal experience. And that's why when we go on these investigations, everything we have generally go on to ourselves. And same with what happens to Pete, it's personal experiences. When we're filming it, you guys will hear it or see it, or whatever is happening at the time. And that's why you guys are hearing something. If you guys back it up for us, it's really good, because then we can say we've heard it, somebody else has heard it, numerous people have heard it. And at that point in time, it goes from being a personal experience to being something we can potentially show as some form of documentation. But that's the thing, Anita. So when people, you say about you believe spirits are felt, not seen. So people talk about how they feel things like that. You potentially are feeling the energy of sorts, is what a lot of people believe. And that energy, whether it's an EMF or anything like that, it's a hypersensitivity to those energies. And that really is what mediums and clairvoyants and that are. Again, they have a hypersensitivity to, their mind is open and things like that. I don't know the full extent of mediumship, etc. So, because I'm not one. I don't claim to be one in any way, shape or form. So it's very hard for me to comment in total on that, I find. Lorraine says, I lost my mum 6 years ago, and whenever I go to Australia for a break, I smell her perfume and always see a white butterfly. Again, that usually is, a lot of people believe, is your mum or someone coming in and giving you something just to lift your spirits, make you happy. That's good, Sandra. That's a good thing. Anthony Lowe, who's looking on YouTube, hello. So where are we? Lisa says, when you're asking for spirits on your live, can it bring them into your house? Again, similar situation to with use of a Ouija board. Really, it's your total belief. If you believe that there's a possibility, that's the thing. It's down to your total belief. Really, it's a hard one to say, because I've had things in a place where I lived before happen. There's a possibility that it was brought in at the time, not from what I was doing, but actually from the partner I was with at the time, who had been off to visit a family member in a care facility at the time. But again, it's down to your belief, really. Let's just have a little look. Colleen says, my two sons have seen the same as me and calling my name shadow people, and they look just like regular people. The one I seen in the basement, the boy had a plaid shirt, baggy pants, suspenders, wavy hair to his shoulders. He just stood there looking at the wall for about 5 minutes. I looked down 3 times and asked him who he was, and he continued to walk through the wall. Never saw the front of his face. He was dressed from the 1940s, maybe. In that situation, what you tend to find is that it potentially is what they call residual. I think people use the term residual hauntings, whereas if you use it, just use the term as it's residual, basically meaning it's like a recording. So what may have been there originally. So what may have been where they're walking through the wall may have been originally a door or just a walkway, and obviously something else has been built on top of it. Hi Barbara, good to have you on. With words from apps, we listen to hear words in our own accents. So words differ north and south. Again, yeah, same simple thing. But a lot of people, and sometimes we're even culprits for it, we listen to the sound of the word, the sounds of the voice that's being coming through as well, rather than just listening for the word. The thing is, when you're going through and it's scanning through radio stations, or whether it's firing at phonemes, when you hear the sound and sounds more female, we automatically think it's a woman we're talking to or a child we're talking to, etc. Rather than just listening for the word that we're asking for. If we're saying, are you a male, and we hear a female voice say yes, and we're instantly thinking it's female, when we're not taking on board that we've just asked, are you male? So you're taking on board the words rather than the actual sound of the sounding of it, I should say, and that way you actually try potentially using that piece of equipment to its best ability. Angela says, Anita says, eyes can play tricks on you, definitely, especially if you are in and around places with high electromagnetic fields for long periods of times. Angela says, we have all seen something out of the corner of our eye, but never nothing there. But that's peripheral vision. Yeah, so you're seeing something out of the corner of your eye. But again, that can be down to hypersensitivity to electromagnetic fields, things like that. So when you find people who work in pubs, for example, work behind the bar or work down in the cellar a lot, you find that they see a lot of things happen a lot to them. But when you consider how many pumps are behind the bar, how many pumps are in the cellar, how many fridges, anything like that, and just the hustling and bustling of the building itself, those things will increase energies because they give off so much electromagnetic fields. Probably, I don't know if anybody's heard the term fear cage. A fear cage is when you've got electromagnetic fields all around you continually and you're in it all the time. That will just play havoc with how you are feeling. You feel like prickly skin, hair stand up on edge all the time. You'll think you're hearing things, seeing things like that. It's just one of the things that they used to talk about was the fear of dread coming in, and you just see that's the thing. So Colleen, mirrors facing each other, spirits get trapped. Again, it's another belief situation. If that is what you believe, it's the same when you are looking at you're scrying, anything like that. It's a belief situation. How you believe in the paranormal, how you believe in the spirit work. Sandy says, is it true that if a fridge excuse me, is it true that if a fridge is on the other side of your bedroom wall that it can cause high EMF? Yes, because what people don't realise is that every item that gives off electromagnetic fields emits it at a certain rate. What your EMF meter picks up on, and this is why K2s are so they use in the paranormal, because they go off at really low frequency. What happens is what people don't realise is that your item will give off an electromagnetic field. When your EMF meter stops reading that field, they don't realise that it can actually work up to double that space. So if it gives off a field up to 5 feet, it will give up and it will harm you in some way up to about 10 feet. And the constant being around that can create hypersensitivity. What it is EMF meters don't necessarily go to a low enough frequency of EMF to show it, and that's why you'll find that it will show a 0, but it just doesn't necessarily go right down. What you need to do is look at the frequency on it, okay? And if it's just goes down to, say for example, some will go down to 0.5. Well, what happens at 0.1? You're not seeing 0.1 flag up, but it's still there. Some places have more energy than others. As we know, I live in an old village in Detroit. Very old village, once was farmland. Exactly. So when you think, for example, I'm from Gloucestershire, and take Tewkesbury, for example, in Gloucestershire. It's Civil War land, so similar to a lot of area in America. Civil War land will have all that happening on it, those deaths, those just the energies of it all was there originally. Then you add in that area, you add the fact that there's two rivers meet and they converge, so and that will also cause additional. So that's the thing. So those things, when you add that, and also down to the land it's on, the rock that's underneath it, you add what's potentially happened on top of it. You add rivers and water converging. It creates a battery of energy, and it just flows and runs and runs and runs. That's why Tewkesbury itself is extremely active all around. James Turney says, I like watching you, and like other ghost hunters, you're more believable than others. Thank you, James. Thing is, watch it. The way I look at it is, if you want to come and watch us, come and watch us. We say we do real ghost hunting, but we'd rather put out there as much real. We'd rather show everything as being real as much as possible. All right, so that's why we change cat balls around when one's flashing. We'll reset REM pod when it's going off continually to see if it continues going off. We'll move the robots, things like that. Just different things. We'd much rather do that than state what we're doing is paranormal no matter what. And that's why you find that in the team itself, the main core of the team that are out regularly, none of us are mediums. None of us claim to be sensitive. Things that happen to Pete, obviously you see, that is him being... those things are happening in real time, okay? He's not actually doing anything differently. He's just very open to that. You saw the other night when we were out in the pub that Pete sat down in the chair with what happened to him then. Then you look at, I went and sat in the chair and I was starting to feel things. But then the thing is that Peggy went and sat down in the chair. And those of you who see Peggy know that he doesn't ever say these things, he's feeling these things. Do you know what I mean? So, that's the thing. So that's why we try to be as real as possible. Julian, hi, how you doing? Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine. We try to keep that, so all those things out of it. Has anything ever frightened me? The only time I've been truly frightened was when I first got into things, and I did an old asylum down in Bristol. If you want to have a look at the article, it was done in Fate and Fortune. It's on my website, danlitchfield.net. So basically what happened was as I was walking through the woodland area to get to the main building, there's a path went right through the middle of it, and I'm walking around. I look over diagonally over to my left, and I can see what looks like a silhouette of a dog coming through the woods. It was that far away from me, but it was that big a silhouette that the dog itself had to have been, the back of the dog probably had to have been at least 4 feet off the ground. So it would have been a massive dog, and it was shaped like a German Shepherd. So, and you would have thought a German Shepherd being on site, it would come at you, not trying to cut you off on the pathway. So that was really the only time I've been truly scared. So as I was quickly out of the site and in the golf course next door. Colleen says, I've started in Yugoslavia. My grandmother read tarot cards, did Ouija boards, and my mother told me never to mess with the Ouija board because we had a lot of racket when I was little girl in our home, banging on of cupboards and stuff like that. Get remember, I'm 65 years old. Oh, clean. Basically, yeah. That's the thing. You see, again, it's you having your own free will and beliefs is the best thing you can ever have. If you are of the belief that if you have the belief that a Ouija board does these things, if you have the belief that any piece of equipment we use does what it does, and it works and it does, but it brings spirits forward. That is your belief, is your opinion, but it's always worth just keeping a skeptical mindset. Laura Taylor, hello. She says Mr. Litchfield rather than just calling me Litchfield. I think she worked out that by calling me Litchfield, it didn't get an answer from me. But yeah, I just thought I'd come on and say hello to everybody. Have a chin wag, really. I'm going to get off because I'm hungry. We're live tonight at 7 o'clock. Look out for it. You should see us probably around about 6 o'clock doing a pre-live as well, as we usually do. So yeah, we're live tonight. It should just be tonight. I believe it's me, Pete, and Peggy. Dave's semi-crazy Dave, who you see coming out with us now and again. He's got a funny pointy finger at the minute. He's just had an operation on his finger, so he's poorly and he's laid up in bed. Do I want anything from McDonald's? Hell yeah, I'm starving. Pete knows what I get. Bring it to me. And bring me Starbucks. Please. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining me. It's just been an off the cuff, really, sort of chinwag, talk about equipment, just to see what you like, what you prefer to see, or have a chinwag, really, and that's basically about it. Thank you for joining us. Well, thank you for joining me at this point. And we'll see you at Laura, I can't ring you. I haven't got your phone number. Thank God. She's scary. Laura here, I don't know if anybody can see it, it's in mine. Laura is Mrs. Peter. So, anyway, so I'm going to get a beating for saying that. We will see you at 7 o'clock tonight. Thanks for joining us, guys. Cheers. See you later.